Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Why are you making that face?
Doing the brakes all the way around, rotors, pads, all of that in this video. So let's get to it. Alright guys, as you can see, I have a logo on my shirt that's similar to my logo you guys see on my YouTube channel. This was the first logo I ever made, and this shirt was made by two special women, my mom and my wife. So yeah, it looks kind of beat up, but it is one of my favorite shirts. I'm thinking about starting merch, so I'm gonna keep you guys updated on that. It's still in the making, you know. But if you guys have any input on that, like hats or hoodies or what I should get made first, let me know. But that's enough talking. I'm gonna get to the Jeep. So guys, we're gonna start with the rear tires first. First, we're gonna get I think this is a 21 mil to get these off here. The tires are in the air, or the car is jacked up. So if you're doing this without a impact gun, you're going to need to loosen these with a breaker bar or a 4-way or something like that before you jack it up. So let's get to zipping these off. Okay, the first thing I would take off after we get the tire off, and just to reiterate, these are a 22 mil, not a 21. That was my mistake. So make sure you remember that the lug nuts are a 22 mil to get those off of the Jeep. But back to this retainer clip, it will be the first thing I take off, just because once you get everything out, this will be holding it in by itself alone. So I would just get a flat head and pop that out and that's what I'm about to do right now. So I'm gonna set the camera up so you guys can see me take it off.
One eternity later.
Gave me a little trouble, but there it is. So I would take that off first and then move to the bolts and everything back there. So that's what we're gonna do now. Okay, back here, you're gonna need to get this off of here. It's a dust shield. Make sure you keep this, because you're gonna need to put that back. That is important, even though it doesn't seem like it, to make sure you put that back or put it somewhere where you won't lose it. And for these bolts right here, you're gonna need a T47 Torx bit. That's what I use to get it out of there. Yeah, mine is kind of rusty, but it gets the job done. So I'm continuing to do that. This one is halfway out, and I'm going to do the other one off camera, and then we're going to move to the bolts back here. Get those off, and I'll show you guys that as well. Sorry for the dog barking in the background. Alright guys, we're going to move on to these bolts right here. And we're going to use a 18 millimeter to take these off. It's two of them, one up here and one directly below it. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to get that out of here, and we're going to do both sides, and then we'll be able to get to the pads and the rotor. Alright guys, I didn't get the process of me getting the mounting brackets bolts out, but I got the brake assembly out. And under no circumstances do you want your brakes to look like this. These are brake pads, and it is no pad left. So you do not want your brake pads to look like this. And I'll show you what that does to your rotor once I get the rotor off. And that's what we're going to be doing next. So yeah, under no circumstances do you want brake pads to look like this. No pad left. Alright, we're going to be doing the rotor next. Alright guys, we're moving on to the rotor now. And this is the first time I'm ever seeing this. I've been working on cars for a while, but only Chrysler uses a rubber seal to keep this whole rotor in place. So you need a flathead or something like that to pop that off of there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And then we're going to tap this with a hammer and get this out of here and start replacing everything with new stuff. Well, the new parts. As you can see, we got it out of there. It's right here, but it really is just a plastic rubber seal you can put anywhere, holding in a metal component on the car. Honestly, that doesn't make sense to me. The screws make a little bit more sense when they screw something through here and they have a mounting bracket there inside of it, so you unscrew it from there. But having a rubber seal connected to here to stop this rotor from getting out, honestly, in my opinion, doesn't make much sense, and it's kind of cheap. But you need to take this off to get this out. If you don't, it's not going to make it over that rubber little bump right there. As you can see, this is what those pads will do to your rotor, and if you ignore this long enough, you will end up making your rotor catch fire. I've seen it before, actually, in person. So you don't want this. You'll see what you want it to look like once I put the new one on, but you definitely don't want this. So let's get to putting everything back together. As you can see, this is what a new pad looks like, and this is what the pad that was on the car looks like. You don't want this, you want this. And that's what the new rotor looks like. No deep gashes, clean, shiny. So let's get to putting this stuff back together so we can move on to the front. Okay guys, we got everything back together. We got the rubber seal, or whatever you call that, back on there. This still doesn't make any sense to me. And we got the rotor pads, brake assembly on there. So we're gonna move to the front. I'm gonna put the tire on. We're gonna move to the front and get that done as well. Almost forgot, we gotta put this back as well. The brakes came with a new one, so just slid that in there pretty easily. So that's the complete look. That's what you want to see. You want to put this back on for sure, even though this seems not important or just like it's not doing anything. Just put that back as well. And we got the dust covers on the back as well. Didn't show you guys that, but that's back there as well. So time to put the tire on. Alright guys, we're on the front now. We finished the back. It's going to be the same thing as the back. These clips and this rubber seal are going to come off first, and then we're going to take off these and the bolts right here, and we're going to get rid of all this stuff and put the new brake assembly and rotor on. So let's get to it. And for this upper one, you're going to need a T55 for these right here. And for these are going to be a 22 mil. So I'm going to remove these and remove these, and I'll come back to you guys once I got this off. In my opinion, this would be way easier and way better if it was just like a nut and not having making you use stuff like Torx bits, in my opinion, just because they're easy to strip. So if you're doing this, just make sure you take your time and don't rush it. Make sure you're using
2 hours later.
leverage to loosen it up, because you don't want to strip this stuff. I haven't stripped anything, but it is a little bit tedious. Even then, you see it still is in there, so I'm gonna have to tap that with a hammer to get that out of this end. So we're gonna get to the other one, and I'll be back, and we'll be taking these out. So I'll be right back. And just to reiterate, on all four corners with the caliber, you're gonna have to compress it. I'm using a C-clamp. You can use any it's a lot of more appropriate tools to use, but I'm going to use a C-clamp to compress these pistons in here to put the thicker, newer brakes in the same position. So I'm gonna close these up really quick, and I'll come back to you guys, and we'll be taking this off and the rotor. And like I said, guys, we're gonna take this mounting bracket off of here. So that's what we're gonna do right now, and then we're gonna get to the rotor. Got that loose. Now we're gonna take this off. Rotor might need a little persuasion, but as you can see, it's a lot of rust on here. Got it off. Now we're gonna go grab the new one. Okay, we got the new rotor on. We got the mounting bracket on. The bolts are in there tight. Just put them in there with the impact gun. Now we're gonna be putting the caliber back on with the pads, of course. We have that compressed down, ready for the new brake. As you guys can see, we got the brake assembly back on. We got the clips back in, the rubber seal, I guess. We got the dust covers back on, and everything is tightened down. So only thing left to do now is pump the brakes and then take it on a test drive. So I'm gonna hop in the car. And all right, guys, we're in the car pumping the brakes. I'm going to take it for a test drive, and if you guys made it this far, I really do appreciate it. And I am thinking about making merch. This little thing was just a memento of something people made for me that I care about, and I care about the shirt. But this is an old logo and everything else. But if you guys have any ideas for stuff like that, merch, hats, stuff like that, I would appreciate it if you leave it in the comments. And I appreciate all my new subscribers, old subscribers, people just stopping by and watching. See you in the next one. Peace.